Marcus Chen sat in the back row of the Galactic Estate auction, his hands shaking slightly as he held his digital bidding pad. The tremor wasn't from nervousness. It was from the illness eating away at his nervous system. 6 months, the doctors had said. Maybe 8, if he was lucky. He didn't feel lucky. Lot 247. The auctioneer's voice echoed through the sterile hall. Outpost Kepler 7. Located in Sector 93. Edge of mapped space. Abandoned approximately 60 years ago. Sold as is. No refunds. No guarantees. A hologram flickered to life above the stage. It showed a small, run-down space station floating in the darkness. Most bidders barely glanced at it. Who wanted a broken station in the middle of nowhere? Marcus raised his pad. 5,000 credits. No one else bid. The auctioneer looked surprised. Going once, twice. Sold to bidder 72. Just like that? Marcus owned a space station. It cost him less than a used shuttle. He smiled for the first time in weeks. 3 days later, Marcus's small transport ship approached Kepler 7. His smile faded as he got closer. The auction photo had lied. This wasn't a small outpost. It was massive. The station stretched out like a sleeping giant. Its metal skin reflecting the distant stars. That's not possible, Marcus whispered. The listing had said it was barely 200 meters across. This thing was at least 5 kilometers long. As his ship got closer, Marcus saw something else strange. Parts of the station didn't look human at all. There were sections with smooth, flowing designs that seemed to grow rather than be built. Whoever made this place, they hadn't been human. His ship docked with a grinding sound that made him wince. The airlock was old but still functional. Marcus put on his environment suit, just in case, and stepped inside. The moment he entered, lights flickered on. Dim, but working. The air quality sensor on his suit blinked green. Breathable atmosphere. Working gravity, too. Marcus took off his helmet and took a deep breath. The air smelled stale, but it was air. Hello? His voice echoed down the empty corridor. No answer. Marcus spent the first day exploring. The station was like a maze. There were human sections with recognizable equipment and living quarters. But there were also alien sections with doorways too tall for any human. With walls covered in symbols he couldn't read. With rooms that seemed to serve no purpose he could understand. He found a large observation deck and decided to make it his home. It had a beautiful view of space, a working food processor, and a small sleeping area. Perfect for a dying man who wanted peace. That first night, Marcus sat by the massive window, drinking whiskey from a bottle he'd brought from Earth. He watched the stars and thought about his life. He'd been a terraforming engineer. He'd helped make dead planets livable. He'd had a wife once and a daughter, both gone now. Car accident 15 years ago. After they died, Marcus had thrown himself into his work. He'd worked on dozens of worlds, helping colonies grow, but he'd never let anyone get close again. Now, at the end, he was alone, just like he'd wanted. Except, something felt wrong. As Marcus sat there, he noticed something odd. A corridor he'd walked through earlier had been covered in dust. Now, when he looked down it, the floor seemed cleaner. Lights that had been dead were now glowing faintly. Old systems coming back online, he told himself. Nothing strange about that. But he didn't quite believe it. That night, Marcus slept badly. He kept waking up, feeling like he was being watched. Twice, he got up and checked the corridors. Nothing. Just empty halls and the hum of old machinery. On the morning of his second day at Kepler 7, Marcus woke up and went to make breakfast. He walked out of his observation deck quarters and stopped dead. Someone had burned a message into the metal floor. The symbols glowed with fading heat. Still warm. They weren't human letters. Marcus pulled out his handheld translator and pointed it at the symbols. The device sparked and glitched. Then, slowly, words appeared on its screen. Trespasser. You have 24 hours. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. He looked around the empty corridor. He was alone. Completely alone. Or was he? He had come here to die in peace. Now, it seemed, someone else had other plans. Marcus spent the next 23 hours preparing for the worst. He moved supplies to his ship, ready to escape if needed. He checked the station's defense systems, but they were either broken or locked behind security he couldn't crack. His hands shook more than usual as he worked. Fear mixed with his illness made everything harder. With 1 hour left in the deadline, Marcus sat in the observation deck with a cup of coffee. If someone was going to kill him, at least he'd face them on his own terms. He was dying anyway. What did it matter if it happened today or in 6 months? The station suddenly shuddered. Every light blazed to full brightness. Alarms Marcus didn't know existed started blaring. On the view screen, a massive ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. It was beautiful and terrifying. The ship looked ancient, covered in the same flowing designs as parts of the station. It was easily 3 times the size of any human warship Marcus had ever seen. Blue and silver lights pulsed along its hull like a heartbeat. Marcus's communicator crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language that sounded like music, mixed with breaking glass. His translator worked this time. Trespasser, leave my home, now. Marcus picked up the communicator. His voice was steadier than he expected. I legally purchased this station. I have the documents. I'm not leaving. Silence. Then, you purchased it? Purchased Kepler-7? Yes, 3 days ago. Galactic Estate Auction, Lot 247. More silence. The massive ship moved closer to the station. A docking tube extended and connected with a clang that echoed through the halls. Marcus stood up and walked to the main airlock. If he was going to die today, he'd face his killer standing up. The airlock door opened. The figure that entered made Marcus take a step back. It was tall, at least 3 meters, and looked like it was made of living crystal. Its body shifted colors from blue to purple to silver as it moved. It didn't walk so much as flow, like water taking the shape of a person. Where it touched the floor, patterns of light spread out like ripples. 2 eyes that looked like stars burning in the depths of space focused on Marcus. You are small, the being said. Its voice was softer now, confused rather than angry. And you are dying. Marcus blinked. How do you know that? The station tells me. It reads all life within it. Your cells are failing. Your body is shutting down. The being tilted its head. Yet, you came here? A dying creature? To an abandoned station? It wasn't supposed to be abandoned, Marcus said. The auction said it had been empty for 60 years. No one claimed it. The sale was legal. The being made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Marcus's translator labeled it as laughter, though not a happy kind. Legal, yes. Your species and your paperwork. The being moved closer, and Marcus forced himself not to run. I am Kesva, of the eternal descent. This station has been my family's home for 12,000 of your years. 300 years ago, we fled a war. We've been traveling back ever since. Marcus felt his stomach sink. You've been gone 300 years, and you're just getting back now? Space is vast. We went far to escape our enemies. The journey home is long, even with our technology. Kesva looked around the corridor, touching the walls gently. I was born here. I took my first form here. My parents died here. This place holds the memories of my entire bloodline. I'm sorry. Marcus said quietly. I didn't know. The listing didn't mention any of this. Some colonial administrator must have found the station and assumed it was abandoned because we were gone too long. Kesva's colors shifted to darker shades. In trying to save our lives, we lost our home. They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Marcus spoke. I can leave. I'll contact the auction house. Get my money back. You can have your home. Kesva turned those star-like eyes on him again. Why did you buy this place? A dying human, spending his last credits on an abandoned station at the edge of space? Marcus surprised himself by telling the truth. I wanted to die in peace, away from hospitals, away from people looking at me with pity. I just wanted quiet. And stars. I wanted to watch the stars. Kesva was silent for a long time. When they finally spoke, their voice was thoughtful. You purchased eternity for your final moment? I guess I did. How long do you have? 6 months, maybe less. I am 4,000 years old, Kesva said. I will live another 6,000. Perhaps more. You have less time than it takes me to sleep once. They moved to the observation window, looking out at space. Marcus joined them at the window. It seemed important. Kesva's colors shifted again, cycling through shades Marcus couldn't name. Finally, the being spoke. The station is large enough for 2. You may stay, human. Marcus turned, surprised. Really? But there is a condition. Kesva looked at him with those burning eyes. If you truly came here to die in peace, then help me understand something. I have been alive for 4,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched stars be born and die. Yet your species, who live such brief lives, fight so desperately for every moment. Why? Find rise mine. Marcus thought about it. I don't know if I can explain that. The first week was strange. Marcus stayed in his observation deck quarters, while Kesva worked on restoring other parts of the station. Sometimes Marcus would wake up and find entire corridors had been repaired overnight. Walls that had been cracked and broken now gleamed like new. Systems that hadn't worked in decades suddenly hummed to life. Kesva's technology seemed like magic to Marcus. The crystalline being would touch a broken panel, and it would simply fix itself. When Marcus asked how it worked, Kesva tried to explain, but the concepts were too advanced. It was like trying to explain quantum physics to a cat. But Marcus had his own skills. Skills that Kesva found equally strange. One morning, Kesva found Marcus in one of the old human sections, taking apart a water recycling system. The being watched silently as Marcus worked with basic tools, cursing when parts didn't fit right, wiping sweat from his forehead. Why do you do it that way? Kesva asked. I could repair this in moments. Marcus didn't look up from his work. Because I know how. Because figuring it out matters. Your way might be faster, but this way I understand it. Amusing stubbornness, Kesva said, but they sounded interested rather than mocking. As the days passed, they began to talk more. Kesva would share memories from their long life. Not just tell stories, but actually show them. The being could project images directly into the air, like holograms but more real. Marcus saw the birth of a star, watched civilizations that had died 1,000,000 years ago, experienced things no human had ever witnessed. In return, Marcus shared his own much smaller memories. He told Kesva about his grandmother's kitchen, how she made bread by hand, even though machines could do it better. He talked about the first time he saw a dead planet turn green with life after terraforming. He showed Kesva a worn photo of his wife and daughter, the only picture he'd brought with him. You carry your dead with you, Kesva observed, studying the photo. Always, Marcus said quietly. One evening, As they sat in the observation deck, alarms suddenly blared. A ship was approaching. Then another. And another. Kesva's colors shifted to angry red. More trespassers. Marcus checked the sensors. 3 ships. One was damaged, limping through space. The other 2 looked like scavenger vessels. They probably picked up the station's power signature. Word must be spreading that Kepler-7 is operational again. I will destroy them, Kesva said simply. Wait. Marcus stood up. They might need help. That first ship looks badly damaged. This is not a charity station, human. This is my home. It's also mine now, remember? You let me stay. Marcus headed toward the communication panel. Let me talk to them first. The damaged ship was a small transport carrying a family of traders. Their engine had failed. They needed repairs and supplies. The 2 scavenger ships wanted to dock and search the station for salvageable tech. Kesva wanted to send them all away. Marcus suggested something different. You've been alone for 300 years, Marcus said. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why coming back here feels empty, even though the station is working again. No. I am eternal descent. We do not need others. Everyone needs others, Marcus said. Even beings who live for thousands of years. After much argument, they reached a compromise. The trader family could dock for repairs. The scavengers could not. But Marcus had another idea. Over the next 2 weeks, more ships came. Word spread fast in space. Marcus created simple rules. Respect the station. Contribute something useful. Don't stay longer than needed. People could trade, make repairs, rest. In return, they helped maintain the station, or shared food and supplies. Kesva watched, fascinated and frustrated, as Kepler-7 slowly transformed into a waypoint for travelers. Humans, aliens, refugees, traders. They came, they stayed briefly, they left. But each one added something. A merchant fixed the communication array. An engineer family repaired the docking systems Marcus couldn't figure out. A refugee taught Marcus how to grow plants in the station's old hydroponics bay. You are turning my home into a marketplace, Kesva complained, though their colors showed more curiosity than anger now. I'm turning it into something that matters, Marcus replied. Then, one day, everything changed. A large refugee ship dropped out of FTL travel. It was barely holding together, scarred by weapons fire. Marcus's communication panel lit up with a distress signal. This is Refugee Transport New Dawn. We have 200 survivors. Plague hit our colony. We're trying to reach medical stations, but our supplies are gone. Please help. Kesva appeared beside Marcus. Send them away. Plague is dangerous. Marcus pulled up the medical data they'd transmitted. His face went pale. This plague, it only affects oxygen-breathing species. Your people are crystalline. You're immune. Yes. So we have no reason to risk contamination. But I'm oxygen-breathing, Marcus said quietly. And I'm dying anyway. He opened the communication channel. New Dawn. This is Kepler-7. You can dock. We'll help however we can. Kesva's colors flashed angry red. I could, Marcus agreed. But there are children on that ship. I saw them in the transmission. As the refugee ship docked, Marcus went to meet them. Among the tired, sick survivors, he saw a young girl, maybe 10 years old. She had dark hair and scared eyes. She reminded him so much of his daughter that his breath caught. The girl looked up at him. Marcus knelt down, his knees aching. Yes, I promise. Behind him, Kesva watched silently, their colors shifting through emotions they hadn't felt in centuries. The plague wasn't as bad as they'd feared. Most of the refugees were weak and hungry, but only 20 were seriously sick. Marcus set up a medical bay in one of the larger rooms. Kesesva, despite their complaints, used their technology to create clean environments and air filters. The young girl's name was Yuki. Her parents had died in the plague. Now she followed Marcus everywhere, watching him work with curious eyes. "Why are your hands shaking?" she asked one day. Marcus smiled sadly. "I'm sick too. Different sickness, but sick." "Will you get better?" "No, sweetheart. I won't." Yuki thought about this. "Then why are you helping us, instead of resting?" Marcus had to think about his answer. "Because resting isn't living, and I want to live until I can't anymore." Over the next 3 weeks, something unexpected happened. The refugees didn't leave. They had nowhere else to go. Other ships kept arriving too. More traders, more travelers, more people running from something or looking for something. Marcus found himself organizing everything. He created work schedules. He taught people how to repair systems. He mediated arguments when people disagreed. Kepler-7 wasn't just a waypoint anymore. It was becoming a community. Kesesva watched all of this with growing confusion. One evening, they found Marcus in the hydroponics bay, teaching a group of refugees how to grow vegetables. "You are spending your remaining time on strangers," Kesva said. "I do not understand this." Marcus wiped dirt from his hands. He looked thinner now, weaker. The illness was progressing. "What else should I spend it on?" "See. Peace. Quiet. You said you came here to die in peace. I thought that's what I wanted." Marcus admitted. "But I was wrong. I was just scared of being alone when the end came. This is better. This matters." Kesva's colors shifted to deep blue. "You confuse me, human." But Marcus noticed something. Kesva had started appearing in the common areas. The being would sit and listen to people's stories. They began sharing their vast knowledge, teaching refugees about star navigation and ancient technologies. The crystalline being who had fled from others for 300 years was slowly, carefully, rejoining the world. 2 months after the refugees arrived, Marcus collapsed while working. Yuki found him and screamed for help. They carried him to the medical bay. The doctor, one of the refugees, examined him and pulled Kesesva aside. "His time is close. Weeks, maybe days. The illness is in its final stage." Kesesva stood over Marcus's bed. "You pushed yourself too hard, fool." Marcus opened his eyes weakly. "Had to. So much to do. Nothing is worth dying faster. Everything is worth dying for, if it matters enough." Marcus coughed. "Yuki, is she okay?" "The girl is fine. She cries for you every day." "Tell her." Marcus paused, breathing hard. "Tell her she can have my tools. She likes fixing things. She'll be a good engineer someday." Kesesva's colors darkened. "You speak as if you are already gone." "Close enough." Marcus managed a weak smile. "Thank you, Kesva, for letting me stay, for sharing your home. You turned my home into something I do not recognize. Better or worse?" Kesva was quiet for a long moment. "I do not know yet." 3 days later, alarms woke everyone. A military vessel had dropped out of FTL travel. It was huge, bristling with weapons. A transmission came through immediately. "Attention Kepler-7. This station is now claimed by the Terran Colonial Authority. You have 12 hours to evacuate. This territory is being annexed for strategic purposes." The refugees panicked. They had nowhere to go. The traders were angry, but helpless. What could they do against a warship? Kesesva's colors flashed violent red. "No," Marcus's weak voice came from his medical bed. "Bring me to the communication center." "You can barely stand, human." "Don't care. Help me up." They carried Marcus to the communication center in a wheelchair. He looked terrible. His skin was gray, his hands shaking badly. but his eyes were determined. Yuki held his hand as he worked the controls. "What are you doing?" Kesva asked. "Something human," Marcus said. He opened a channel to the entire galactic network. Public broadcast. Anyone could hear it. "My name is Marcus Chen," he began, his voice weak but steady. "2 months ago, I came to Kepler-7 to die in peace. Instead, I found something worth living for. This station is home to 200 people now, families, children, people who have nowhere else to go." He coughed, and Yuki handed him water. "A military ship wants to take this place by force. They say it's for strategic purposes. Maybe they're right. Maybe this station is valuable." Marcus looked directly at the camera. "But you can't measure value in territory or weapons. You measure it in lives, in hope, in the second chances we give each other." His voice grew stronger, passionate. "You can destroy this place. You have the power, but you'll be proving something terrible. You'll be proving that might makes right, that the strong can take from the weak whenever they want." Marcus leaned forward. "And humans didn't claw our way to the stars by accepting that. We got here by being stubborn, by believing that what's right matters more than what's easy." He closed his eyes, exhausted. "Do what you want, but the whole galaxy is watching now. Make your choice." The transmission ended. Marcus slumped in his wheelchair. Kesva caught him. "That was foolish," the being said softly. "They could destroy us all." "Maybe," Marcus whispered, "but at least we'll go down fighting." Outside, the military vessel's weapons powered up. Everyone held their breath. Then, one by one, new ships began dropping out of FTL. Dozens of them. They had come to help. The ships kept coming. Trading vessels Marcus had helped weeks ago. Refugee transports that had stopped at Kepler-7 for supplies. Even a few small diplomatic ships from minor governments. They positioned themselves around the station, not aggressive, but present, a shield of witnesses. The military commander sent another transmission. His voice was angry. "This is obstruction of colonial expansion. You are interfering with legal annexation." An older woman's voice cut in from one of the trading ships. "Legal? You're stealing a home from refugees. The whole galaxy just watched that human's broadcast. You want to start a war over this?" More voices joined in. People Marcus had helped. People who had stayed at Kepler-7. His ship powered down weapons and jumped back into FTL without another word. Inside the station, people cheered. They hugged each other, crying with relief. But Marcus didn't hear any of it. He'd passed out from exhaustion. When he woke up 3 days later, Yuki was sleeping in a chair beside his bed. Kesva stood at the window, their colors muted and thoughtful. "We won?" Marcus asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes. Your broadcast reached millions." The military vessel left. The colonial authority issued an official apology. Kesva turned to look at him. Dozens of governments have sent messages supporting Kepler-7 as a neutral haven. You did this, human. With words. Marcus smiled weakly. We did this. All of us. No. You started it. You took my empty home and filled it with purpose. Kesava's colors shifted to soft blue and gold. I have lived 4,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched stars be born and die. But I have never seen anyone do so much with so little time. How long do I have? Marcus asked. The doctor says days. Perhaps a week. Good. That's enough. Yuki woke up and immediately grabbed Marcus's hand. You're awake. Don't scare me like that again. Sorry, kiddo. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. I hear you're taking care of my tools? Every day. I clean them and organize them, just like you showed me. Tears ran down her face. You can't die, Marcus. We need you. You don't need me. You have everything you need already. Marcus touched her cheek. You're smart and brave. You'll do amazing things. You'll fix broken things and help people, just like I did. I don't want to do it without you. I know. But that's how life works. We teach each other. We help each other. And then we pass things on. He smiled at her. You'll pass my tools to someone else someday. Someone who needs them. And they'll remember me through you. That's how we stay alive, even after we're gone. The next week was peaceful. Marcus spent most of it in the observation deck, watching the station bustling with life through the windows. Kepler-7 was constantly busy now. Ships came and went. People traded, rested, made repairs. Children played in the corridors. Families made plans for the future. Kesva sat with Marcus every day. They didn't talk much. They just watched together. I spent 300 years traveling back here, Kesva said one evening. I thought coming home would make me whole again. But the station was empty. It meant nothing without my family, without life in it. And now? Marcus asked. Now it means everything. Because of you. Kesva's colors glowed bright. You had 6 months to live, and you spent them building something that will outlast you by centuries. My species lives for thousands of years, yet most of us never create anything that matters. You humans burn so briefly, but you illuminate so much. Marcus closed his eyes. I'm tired, Kesva. I know. Will you take care of them after I'm gone? Yes, I promise. And Yuki? She'll need someone. She will always have a home here. I will teach her everything I know. Kesva paused. She reminds me of you. Stubborn and impossibly hopeful. Marcus smiled. Good. He died that night, peacefully, watching the stars through the observation window. Yuki was holding one hand. Kesva held the other, experiencing grief for the first time in millennia. The funeral was attended by hundreds. People Marcus had helped. People he'd barely known. People who had only heard his broadcast. They came to honor the human who had bought a station to die in peace and instead taught an immortal how to live. 5 years passed. Kepler-7 became famous across the galaxy. It was known as the Lighthouse, a neutral haven, at the edge of space, where anyone could find help. Governments respected its neutrality. Pirates avoided it out of respect for what it represented. Yuki was 17 now, running the engineering department. She kept Marcus's tools in a glass case in the main hall, polished and perfect. Every new arrival saw them and heard the story. Kesva still lived on the station. But they were different now. They laughed with visitors. They told stories. They helped anyone who needed it. The being who had fled from connection for 300 years now thrived on it. One day, a young human arrived on a damaged ship. He was scared and alone, running from a war. Yuki helped him dock and brought him to the common area. Kesva met him there, their colors warm and welcoming. Welcome to the lighthouse, Kesva said. You're safe here. The young man looked around at the busy station, confused. Why help me? You don't know me. Kesva smiled, something they'd learned from Marcus. A wise human once taught me that strangers are just friends we haven't helped yet. Come. Let me show you around your new home. In the observation deck, a plaque hung on the wall beside the window. It was made of polished metal, with words carved deep. Marcus Chen. He had 6 months and chose to spend them on tomorrow. Below it was a photo. Marcus, thin and tired but smiling, surrounded by the first refugees. Yuki stood beside him, holding his hand, and in the background, barely visible, Kesva glowed with colors that spoke of hope. The lighthouse continued to shine in the darkness, not built on human technology or alien power, but on something stronger. on the stubborn human belief that even a dying man could plant trees whose shade he would never enjoy. And in that observation deck, watching over everyone, Marcus's spirit remained. Not as a ghost, but as a legacy. A reminder that life isn't measured in years, but in what we do with the time we have. The stars continued to shine. The station continued to welcome the lost. And somewhere in the cosmos, Marcus Chen's brief, bright flame had ignited a fire that would burn for generations.